Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. As you can see, I'm on the road and I've just pulled out onto the freeway and I'm on my way to Canberra, on my way to the Australian Capital Territory to go and witness. And look at that, there's a kangaroo there, a roadkill on the side of the road. Wow, that was a massive kangaroo. But I'm on the way to Canberra today to go and see an exhibition of Greek ancient artifacts that will be finishing up, I think, by the 1st of May. So I've just got a few more days to go, so I thought I'd make today a day where I could get out of the house. I've got an RDO from work. Paul is overseas and it's an empty house, so rather than stay at home and mope around Sydney, I thought I'd do something productive, get in the car and go on a nice long drive where I could indulge and do a few 5am clubs while driving. So instead of doing a walk and talk, we're doing a cruise and talk, or a drive and talk, something which is a little bit different to the normal format that I take. It's not as easy because I need to try and memorize what I'm saying and to deliver it whilst concentrating on the road. But I'll do my best. I'll do my best and provide you with an opportunity as well to vicariously come on this journey with me and experience a road trip with Uncle Jimmy, where we will spend maybe about half an hour chatting about a book summary and exchange life hacks and OPE, other people's experience, and see if we can incorporate it into our lives and make the most of it. So today's book summary is entitled How to Have Successful Relationships. And it's a book summary by a couple of people here. It's Jonathan Taylor-Cummings and Andrea Taylor-Cummings, so a husband and wife. So the book kicks off by identifying four habits that you can incorporate into your relationship life that will help you be better at relationships. And these four habits are as follows. Habit number 1 is to be curious, not critical. Habit number 2 is to be careful, not crushing. Habit number 3 is to ask and not assume. And habit number 4 is to connect before you correct. I love this book. And I love this book summary already because those 4 habits just seem so profound and so powerful. And the sort of things that you need in order to guide us, to guide one through the relationship maze. Because at the end of the day, relationships are hard. You know, we've got relationships with ourselves, we've got relationships with our spouses, our boyfriend, girlfriend, we've got relationships with our siblings, our parents, our grandparents, our uncles, our aunts, our cousins, our work peers. We've got a relationship with God and a relationship with, as we said before, community. And there's so many different relationships that are at play at any one time that it can become a minefield for those who are not versed in how to excel at relationships. But I guess the important thing that I learned out of this book was that there is a thing known as relationship intelligence. And there are people who are better at relationships than others. Just like we've got academic intelligence and emotional intelligence and artistic intelligence and all of these other. Science have come up with a whole range of different intelligence that people can have. And you can have more than one, of course. And you can build your intelligence through activity and through exposure and through leveraging. But the author here says in this book that we have a thing called relationship intelligence. Just like Monet could see the world and express the world in colour. He could express the world in detailed colour and nuanced colour because he could see it. He had the intelligence to allow him to identify it and to tap into it in the first place. And just like Monet has an eye for colour, has an eye for detail, and it can express that detail, that colour and that texture and that shade and all of those things. There are also people who have a spiritual intelligence, who are able to sense the mysteries and to express and to explain and to live the mysteries. Just like we have those sorts of people, just like we have people who are good with numbers, other people who are good with words, other people who are good physically, can get the most out of their physicality. Some people who have an ear for tune and an ear for sound and an eye for certain things. In a similar sort of vein, there are people who have relationship intelligence, the ability to relate to other people and to connect with other people in a way that is far more enhanced than the average person. And they have an ability to connect, to initially connect, and to stay connected with the people around them. So I guess we need to understand that there's a call to action for us to at least understand and to acknowledge that there are people who have these skills and that there are skills that we can incorporate, that we can welcome into our portfolio, into our inventory of life hacks that we can use to be better with our relationships. And we all can improve in our ability to relate and to connect and to have people around us want to be with us and enjoy the connectivity and what we have to offer. And we have to understand that relationship intelligence is different to emotional intelligence. It's good to have both, of course, but emotional intelligence is being to understand how others feel and how you feel and what creates your feelings and what motivates your feelings. But relationship intelligence is quite different. So let's learn a little bit more about what relationship intelligence is all about and how we can use it and how we can make the most of it to improve our lives and to be role models to others so that others can learn from us and that we can comfort and nurture our relationships and to be a beacon of light to other people, to make them feel more comfortable and to allow them to belong as we want to belong in this world and environment that we're able to stimulate and to generate. So the first formal point to come out of this text from this dual authorship JonathanAndrea, Taylor-Cummings, is that we need to develop a thing called self-awareness and other awareness. So we need to be self-aware in terms of what makes us tick, but we also need to be other aware in terms of being able to tap into an awareness of others around us, so that we can leverage and we can manage and work with the resources that we have around us. Because we need to learn, according to this author, to give each other space and grace to enable them to shine. It's important to understand that with relationships, it's a ebb and flow, it's to and fro, it's give and take, it's allow and receive. You need to give people the right space when they need them, and you need to embrace them and to bring them close to you when they need that as well. And the trick is to be able to identify and to understand when the right time is to embrace and to release, to hold and give and let go. And there are people, and we know that, there are people in our lives and there are people in our work lives and that who want to micromanage, who want to hold on tight and to strangle and to throttle and to overlove. And all of this creates issues in the relationships that we have. But we need to understand that we need to give space and grace to people and enable them to grow and develop from time to time. And there are times when people are experiencing explosive growth, which need more space. And there are people who are, I guess, plateaued, and they probably need more closeness. So we need to, according to these authors, to learn to treat each other well, regardless of the challenges and issues that we face. Because there are times where we are productive and we are resourceful, and there are other times where we're just needy and sensitive, I guess is the best way to put it. So we need to treat people well regardless of the space that they're in. We need to respect the space that they're in, according to this author. So we need to treat people well and to work to genuine resolution, to strengthen and not damage the relationship. Because relationships, we have learnt over our own lives, have sensitivity. Now, there are people who are sensitive, and we need to manage and nurture the relationships in order to keep them. We need to take and make an effort. You know, relationships just don't operate on automatic pilot. I remember years ago reading a book by Steve Hawkins, The History of Time, that was given to me by a friend of mine, Cleo O'Neill, many, many years ago. And the thing that amazed me in that book is where Stephen Hawkins says that the universe is constantly expanding, and nobody understands where that energy comes from to enable the universe to continually expand. But he also mentioned that with that continual expansion, you know, the planets, the stars, everything within the universe is continuing to grow further and further apart from each other. And I remember back then saying to myself, what a wonderful metaphor, what a wonderful analogy, what a lovely paradigm to express how we as humans, how we as family members are experiencing in our lives. Because as you get older, what I've learnt in my life is that slowly but surely we are all growing further and further apart from each other, and we need to fight. We need to create an energy to at least keep things as close as possible. We need to make an effort to maintain the relationships that we have to each other. Otherwise, we're going to lose orbit, and we're going to disconnect and not ever come into each other's orbit ever again. So wherever we can, we need to use our 10 fingers, our 2 hands, our 2 arms to hold on to the relationships that we have and to welcome other relationships, but to continually to work hard at relationships and to seek genuine resolution to any damage that we cause along the way, and to continually ask ourselves a simple question. Now, what is the most productive and the most responsible thing that I can do right now to help nurture, build and enhance the relationships that I have in my life right now? The relationship that I have with myself, the relationship I have with God, the relationship I have with my wife, my children, my relatives, my friends, my work peers, my community. There are lots of things that you can do, but the only way you can identify what you need to do is to journal, to be self-aware, and to ask yourself open-ended, empowering questions. And we need to make sure that we manage, enhance and feed and nurture our relationships for fear of losing them. Because once the heart grows colder, once we start distancing ourselves in our relationships, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, then it gets harder and harder to get back together. Look, I do admit there are some relationships, there are some friendships that the heart never grows cold over. You'll always find a way to reconnect. And it happens at Easter, at Christmas, from time to time when you have a school reunion. What I notice is that with some people, you can come together once a year or once every 5 years, and you can simply carry on where you last left off, and there's a chemistry which continues forever and a day. And yet there are other relationships that you continually need to work at, because they're always at risk of being dismantled and disconnected, I think is the word that I'm looking for. But the author here mentions that it's important to continue to clarify your values and having the courageous conversations about things that matter, and that build trust and narrow distance. Because relationships are built on trust. And I don't know how to express this and how to say it, but there are times we just wake up one day and that trust has disappeared. And you can't explain what happened, why it happened. It's a vibe that you get. It's a sense, a sixth sensory sense. But some something happens and you just lose trust in someone, in something, and you just get up and you're out of love and you just don't want to have a relationship. And I've done that with work, with my work career. I've done that with some of my friendships over the years, and it's hard to explain, and I guess we all feel that in some way. But you just wake up one day and just your heart's no longer in it with a particular group of friends or a particular environment, and you just decide to move on. But it's important to understand that in order to bring in new friends and new relationships and new environments into your life, you need to let go of things that are no longer serving you, no longer working for you. And it may sound opportunistic, it may sound dramatic and bad, but it's a reality of life that we need to continue to go and grow. And some people come into our lives for a moment and change our lives for the better, and some people stay with us and stick with us for the entire journey. But every relationship that you have is at risk of disconnecting and moving off. But by the same token, in a heartbeat, there are other relationships that can be built and come into your life that can enhance your life and make your world and environment an even better place than what it once was. So we need to be positive, we need to be open, and we need to welcome and embrace opportunity. The author's second point here to come out is that we need to build rapport and warmth in our relationships, and connect and continually communicate appreciation. I remember having a discussion with an accountant once, and he said that people don't leave their accountants, they leave their consultants because the consultant has given bad advice or the consultant isn't good. You know, people leave their accountants because they don't feel the love anymore. They don't feel appreciated anymore, and they just feel as if they're just part of the furniture. And it happens, and there's a risk there for all of us to address. You know, don't take your parents, your siblings, your partner for granted. Don't take your children for granted. Don't take your work peers or anybody else for granted. And to continually communicate appreciation, even if it's small, just to say to yourself, what can I say today to make my wife feel appreciated? What can I say to make my child feel appreciated, my grandchild, and my work peer? Just think of things, little things, it costs you bloody nothing. That's the beauty of it. But it needs to be genuine, and it needs to be timely. But always look for opportunities to communicate appreciation in order to enhance and to feed your relationships, is what these authors are talking about. And we need to overcome the feelings of being undervalued. And that means also the way we talk to ourselves and communicate with ourselves. We all want to be valued. And that's why it's important to communicate to yourself and to value yourself, but to also continually articulate and to challenge your values, to make sure that the values, the things that you value, the people that you value, the environments that you value are still valuable. So being able to talk value and to clarify your values is important, and that our goals and our actions and our activities need to be value-centric, and we need to continue to go through that process and to feel valued and to make other people feel valued and make them feel that they belong. And the author says, and this is a great point, this is one that I absolutely love, and I've heard it before, but it's really worth expressing and passing on, that we have a thing called an emotional bank account, where we make deposits in our own bank account when we talk to ourselves, and we make withdrawals. And it's important to always have a healthy balance, to continue to make positive deposits into your emotional bank account, and to also make lots and lots of positive deposits into other people's emotional bank accounts, and not to be, overdrawn, so to speak, because it will cause you grief, it will cause you problems in the long term, and it will catch you by surprise. It will blindside you one day. It only takes a number of withdrawals, and for a person to feel taken for granted and undervalued before they blindside you one day and are no longer want to be in your life because they no longer trust you. You have depleted them of their bank deposits for more than enough time. So what the author here says is that we need to be aware, we need to journal and to understand the behaviors that we have that that constitute deposits, and the behaviors that we express that constitute withdrawals in people's emotional bank accounts. And to top those accounts up when they are least expected. I remember reading a book years ago about dolphin training, and they said that the key to training a dolphin is to reward them when they do a trick, or when they do something that is positive. But if you could just keep on rewarding them with one fish or one piece of squid at a time, the dolphins will slowly but surely lose interest. And the author of that book says that one thing that you need to do in order to stimulate the environment and stimulate a positive reaction is to every now and then to offer the donuts a jackpot of 4 or 5 fish or something different. And to do it when they least expect it. To do it when they least deserve it. Not to do it when they deserve it, but to do it when they least deserve it. So they don't know when the jackpot is going to come, so that they're always maintaining their interest, because they just don't know when and where and how the next jackpot is going to come and what that jackpot is going to constitute. So it's great for training ourselves, our children, our friends, our family, our work peers, to offer jackpots, just to be generous and over generous when people least expect it, because what it does is it stimulates and it maintains a person's motivation to keep on doing the right thing, because at some point in time they're going to be over rewarded and over stimulated. So this is something that is really, really interesting, to give somebody a jackpot into their emotional bank account, to really spur it along and to build it up, and to give more deposits than withdrawals is another key. And to understand which behaviours are considered to be deposits and which behaviours are considered to be withdrawals. And hereby we need to understand a person's love language. I remember reading a book on love language, and it says that we need to understand what our love language is and what other people's love language is, because there's no need, or there's no use in depositing and over depositing in a person's bank account with deposits that they don't appreciate, in a currency that they don't value. So no use buying a person gifts all the time if all they want is words of affirmation, or all they want is a hug and a kiss and a cuddle. You need to understand what the currency is that a person values, and put it and place it into their bank account so that it is well accepted and valued and given the highest amount of interest. So the author then goes on to say that relationships are a function of motivation and ability. Not all people have the ability to give to a relationship at a time when that need is welcome or called for. Most healthy relationships cycle through a thing called mutual satisfaction and frustration from time to time. There are times where we'll do the right thing, and there are times where we'll do the wrong thing. But we need to try and generate an environment and a balance of mutual satisfaction where both people feel happy by doing certain things and receiving and giving certain things, which is an interesting sort of concept. So mutual satisfaction is the fuel that relationships thrive on, and we need to be careful, because desperation is a danger zone and it depletes a relationship of oxygen. So we shouldn't be in a position where we're desperate for attention, or desperate to do things, or desperate for anything, because desperation means you're at the edge and you're at breaking point within a relationship, and that desperation is an unhealthy sign. People who desperately want to be loved. Why do you desperately want to be loved? There's a message. There's something behind that needs to be addressed. So you need to keep a journal to understand what triggers those acts of desperation. If you desperately want to keep somebody in your life, that's a sign of trouble. I don't want to be desperately wanting to keep people in my life. I want it to be a self-fulfilling, mutual, satisfying situation. We've got to be careful that we don't become toxic in what we do and what we say. And as the author said before, we need to be careful and not crushing. And sometimes people overmanage or micromanage their relationships, which may work in the beginning, but sooner or later the other person's going to be irritated, and this lack of oxygen and lack of space and lack of trust and lack of respect, I guess is one way of putting it, will make the environment toxic, will make the relationship toxic, and may cause, as we said before, the heart to grow colder. And we need to make sure that any differences are not misunderstood, and the needs need to be met. Any unmet needs will certainly cause an issue. So we need to be in a position to discuss with our friends, to discuss with our relationship partners if they've got any unmet needs. And I remember reading a book a while back where the book was entitled "Getting the Love That You Want," saying that when you have a discussion with a partner or a friend about an issue, what's best to do is, once you've resolved or talked about a particular issue, to ask them the simple question, is there anything else? Is there anything else do you have any other unmet needs that I can help you with? And that in itself is very cleansing to a relationship, because it just shows that you're in a position where you want to learn and you want to hear about things that you can do better. Now, people don't necessarily want other people to do things better, but they want to be heard. And this is one of the key messages from this book, that if you want to have good relationships, you've got to hear people, hear what people are saying, and lend that loving ear and open up the heart and ask them, is there anything else? Rather than just pulling down the shutters and just feeling offended that somebody is asking you to do something. And to understand that we mustn't be silent and indifferent. A lot of people seem to think that the opposite of love is hate. But what I've learnt is that the opposite of love is indifference. If you don't love somebody, then you're indifferent to them. You don't hate them. By hating somebody means that you still have some feelings for them, be they positive or negative, but you still rank somebody as worthy of your attention. When you become completely indifferent to somebody, that is the ultimate sign that you are unloving. They're not part of you anymore. You don't even think of them or consider them worthy of your attention. And it's a sign of death. Being indifferent, being separated, being isolated is one form of death to some people. So the author here reminds us to be careful not to fall into isolation, because that means that people have checked out. You'll know and you'll sense and you'll find in your life that whilst you still have feelings for friends and relationships you think you have with people, not all people have the same feeling towards you. One of the worst feelings in the world is to love somebody and for them to not love you back. Unrequited love, which causes people to commit suicide and causes people to go into depression and to experience anxiety. Unrequited love. But I remember reading again in another book where people said that whilst you think you've got a lot of friends, a lot of those people who you think are your friends don't regard you as their friend. And it's an interesting it's an interesting thought that how you feel that you've got a dozen friends, for example. But if somebody asked them, who are your dozen friends, you'd probably not feature or be on their list of those 10 friends. And vice versa, they may not know that you're one of their 10 friends. So it's that dynamic of friendship is quite interesting, to say the least. So we need to be careful to not be indifferent, and for other people not to be indifferent to us, because that is, as I said before, a danger zone. And to make sure that we don't check out, or to be aware, at least when other people check out. Because as I always say, I've always said this in my life, and it's a thing that Greeks normally say: you don't love me one, I won't love you 10 times. I won't get destroyed. I won't feel lesser of a person if somebody doesn't love me. But we just need to understand where we stand in many of the relationships, and to understand that when you fight with people, it doesn't mean that you've damaged the relationship. Fighting with people, as we said before, when you're fighting with your friends over things, may simply mean that you're just trying to clarify values. And it doesn't mean that you hate each other's guts. It just means you've got a different opinion and you're seeking each other's view just so you can understand where each person stands with regard to something. But because people who are indifferent don't fight. People who are indifferent don't care what the other person's opinion are. You just write them off. Very often on Facebook, I'll make a comment in a group or something, and people will attack me. But it doesn't affect me in any way because I don't have any connection to those people, and I'm indifferent to their views. So don't think that the people who have a view and attack you can impact you, because if you don't value their friendship, if you don't value their view, their opinion, then it's of no consequence. So it's just like water off a duck's back. Anyway, so there we go. So we're on our way to Canberra. Sooner or later we'll be coming up to Lake George, which I've got a feeling is pretty full this time of year because of all the rains. I'll pull over there and I'll do another vlog and we'll see how we go. But I've just seen that I've been talking for 40 minutes. This is the longest vlog that I've ever done, and it just goes to show that a drive and talk can be an opportunity to talk volumes about topics, because it's quite comfortable. I'm just behind the wheel here relaxing, and I can chat away and contemplate and think about things, and I'm on automatic pilot when I'm driving. But what we've learned here in this book about relationships is that we should be curious and not critical. Nobody likes people who are critical, but be curious. Try and understand where the other person's coming from. Be careful, not crushing. Don't be too opinionated. Don't be too forthright with your opinions with the people who are close to you, because you may be crushing their dreams. First of all, understand where they're coming from and encourage them where you can, but don't crush them, because people will hate you for it. Ask, don't assume, and connect before you correct. It's more important to connect with people than to correct them, because you're not going to make too many friends by correcting people. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club whilst I'm on my way to Canberra. Take care, and I look forward to chatting to you again from a different place, from a different location, with a different message of empowerment, where we showcase and highlight the beauty of this country that we live in, and we are able to overlay it with a message of empowerment where possible, incorporating and using OPE, other people's experiences, in the form of book summaries and other observations that I can come up with. Thank you for being part of this vicarious journey, and I encourage you to take a trip to Canberra one day, to get out of the house, into the car, even though the petrol's a little bit more expensive these days. It's good to interact and to be one with this beautiful country that we have. And until next time, yasas, bye for now, and let's continue to live, learn, and pass it on. Yasas, and bye for now.